Hello and welcome to OLT 321, European Literature. My name is Warren Reed.
Ooh.
And this is lecture 6. We're going to talk about Gustave Flaubert's novel Madame Bovary, in particular, the style and structure of Madame Bovary. In this lecture, we're going to talk about 4 topics. 1, the significance of the title and the subtitle. 2, the plot and point of view. 3, the 3 parts of the novel. And 4, the impersonality of Flaubert. So first, the title and subtitle. Even though the first 2 chapters are about Charles Bovary, most of the novel is the focus is on Madame Bovary. It's a limited, omniscient narrator focusing on her, and the very end is about Charles Bovary. That's a little bit unusual. Normally, one main character is focused on, but every novelist has his reasons. We can assume that he wanted us to follow and understand Charles's background and also the aftermath, which is why he chose such a tactic. Anyway, the novel is called Madame Bovary. The main character is Madame Bovary, so why not call it just Madame Bovary? Well, the point is to show her status as a middle-class bourgeois woman in society. She's not seen as Madame Bovary, she's Madame Bovary. In other words, Mrs. Bovary, the wife of Bovary, the wife of somebody called Bovary. Do you understand? So, because of her character flaws, this title gives us a hint at the kind of the trouble which is already brewing before you start on page 1. She's stuck as somebody's wife, rather than being a unique individual, a unique snowflake. The subtitle is A Story of Provincial Life. That means it takes place in the country. The provinces are the countryside. It's an issue because Emma dreams of city life. You know, she's really bored and living in the country, and to her, she can only be happy in the city where there's, parties and excitement, adventure, and theater to go to, lots of social happenings, which don't happen normally in the country lifestyle. So as the wife of a country doctor, in her view, she's emotionally and socially limited. Also, most of the characters, including her husband, are not sophisticated. They're simple country people, and they bore the pants off her until Léon and Rodolphe charmed the pants off her, literally. So for her, she's stuck in this country, married to a countryman, when she longs for the imaginary excitement of city life. Part 2, the plot and point of view. I'm not going to give a big detailed summary of the plot right now. You can read it on the Moodle. Also, there's also a PowerPoint that I've prepared that kind of should help you understand some of the complicated relationships that exist within the novel. But basically the plot is this. Emma is married to Charles. She's bored, she's fed up in the town. She convinces him to leave town, to go to a larger town. In that town, she meets and is seduced by Léon, and then she meets and is seduced by Rodolphe, and then later she's chasing Léon. Basically, that's it. Of course, there's more to that. There's also a subplot of Homais the chemist. Here's a guy who's doing, he's selling drugs, but he doesn't have any diploma. So he kind of hides his lack of professional qualifications behind Charles, who's barely has a clinical certificate, but he's a kind of medical officer in the country. Later on, when Charles dies, he's got more confidence and he undermines the next doctors. Anyway, somehow he rises up in importance and eventually gets a very high honor from the country. And his story is parallel but opposite from Emma's. Emma's got goals and dreams, but she fails. Her life goes downhill, whereas his life goes uphill. The more she drops, the higher he rises. And inverse proportions. Point of view. As we said before, it's kind of a limited, omniscient point of view novel, starting out with Charles's point of view and then later Emma's, and at the end, just at the very end, it's Charles again, and very few authorial intrusions. However, it's a human being creating this work of art, so he's made choices, what kind of topic, what kind of characters, and also the language he uses. All of those things subtly reveal his opinions, but what we're talking about is no intrusions the way Balzac did, jumping in and saying, hey, this means this, or look how he's doing that, or you, dear reader. None of that. Okay, now the three parts of the novel. This is going to be another brief spin through. Part 1 is the background of Charles and Emma. It's about their education and their marriage, and it shows the start of Emma's frustration with her life. And she motivates Charles to leave the small town of Tostes, or Tost, and they move to a bit larger town called Yonville. Part 2, in this part, Emma meets her two lovers, and her frustrations with her life increase because, she sees people who are living the life that she wants to lead. Anyway, the part ends when she's seduced at the agricultural show, and this is ironic because, being seduced and breaking her vows is kind of a failing, a devolution, a step backwards, whereas the agricultural show celebrates progress, so we have another inverse relationship. Part 3. In this part, Emma starts to put Charles seriously into debt in order to finance her little outings with Léon. He's demanding, and he represents some kind of happiness for her, but it comes at a higher and higher price until he's fed up with her. And finally, she understands the truth about adultery is that it becomes just as boring as married life. The routine sets in, then the satisfaction is no longer there, and she thinks she can never find happiness. Here also Charles discovers her love letters and the shock which eventually leads to his death. Lastly, a couple of words, maybe about 35 words on the impersonality of Flaubert. The main thing to understand is that Flaubert did his best to remove his authorial presence as much as possible. He avoided these authorial intrusions and comments, as we saw with Balzac. But it's impossible to be totally removed from the work. After all, as I said before, he created his story. He wants to illustrate the side effects of romanticism and the bourgeois oppression of women. So he's got an opinion. So from the beginning, this will influence what is written. His opinions create the structure of the story and influence his word choice. Thus. Oh my goodness, that's it. The end of another lecture. Lecture 6 has come to an end. We've talked about the significance of the title and the subtitle. We talked about the plot, the point of view. Don't forget to go on Moodle, take it a bit more, or you're on Moodle already, but anyway, the three parts of the novel and the impersonality of Flaubert. Stay tuned next when we talk about, in Lecture 7, what is it? Yes, you got it. Emma Bovary's Romantic Quest.
Yeehaw!